Donald Trump halfway there, his delegate count far more than any other Republican contender. Tonight, Mr. Trump will be here.
Mr. Trump, I have a
Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down.
Donald Trump halfway there, his delegate count far more than any other Republican contender. Tonight, Mr. Trump will be here.
Mr. Trump, I have a
Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down.
I have the right to understand.
Go back to Univision.
Can Univision, a big network for Hispanic American voters, treat the Trump campaign with fairness? We'll talk with Jorge Ramos about that.
Yeah, you guys can't stop talking about him. I mean, he is a dangerous presence, and you know, it's just like candy bounce.
Also ahead, cozy relationships between pundits and candidates. Bernie Goldberg has some thoughts.
Caution. You are about to enter the no spin zone. Fact it begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, big winners in yesterday's vote, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Here is the delegate count on the Republican side. Mr. Trump, 661. Ted Cruz, 406. Marco Rubio, 169. John Kasich, 142. 1,237 delegates are needed to win the nomination. Right now, Donald Trump has about 2 million more votes than Ted Cruz, so pardon the pun, Mr. Trump is cruising. As far as Marco Rubio's delegates are concerned, many will support him in the first round of the convention voting this summer, even though he's dropped out. After that, they can go where they want. At this point, it is a two-man race between Trump and Cruz, but Kasich is in a spoiler position, and some see him as a potential vice presidential choice because of his big win in Ohio yesterday. On the Democrat side, it's all over. Hillary Clinton sweeping all 5 states last night. She has 1,132 delegates. Bernie Sanders, 818. 2,383 delegates are needed to win the Democrat nomination. Talking Points believes it is all over because California, New York, those big states are Clinton territory. Next Tuesday on the GOP side, Arizona with 58 delegates in a winner-take-all situation will vote. Also Utah and American Samoa way out in the Pacific Ocean. After that, other states will be heard from, but again, right now, a Trump-Clinton race is likely, although the Republican situation not yet locked up. And that's the memo. Now for the top story. Let's bring in Donald Trump, who joins us now from New York City. So things are looking good for you, as mentioned. Does it mean this will change your confrontational style a bit? Do you have to become more statesman-like?
Well, I don't know, Bill. I mean, we're doing pretty well the way it is, and I would say that I always like to be a gentleman, but, you know, I started off, there was 17 people, all smart, all tough, all cunning, and, you know, it's now down to 3, if you want to say 3, and we're getting down to the wire, and I'm leading by a substantial margin. I had a great night last night. We won 5, a total of 5, including the islands, and that was really a great night.
Okay, but you got to be looking out now, I assume your campaign is, to the fact that you may very well get the nomination, and if you do, you're going to need 65 million votes to defeat Hillary Clinton, somewhere in that ballpark. So perceptions are being formed now. Many have already formed their opinion on you. Would it be wise for you to kind of come back from the confrontational style and be more statesman-like?
Well, I think it would be, and I think I will be, and, you know, I do want to finish this off. I'm dealing with 2 smart, tough guys, and I want to make sure I end up winning. I'd like to get to the finish line. I'm pretty good at getting to finish line, so I want to make sure, but it certainly would be, and I think that's what you're going to see.
All right, well, that's why I asked the question. So we're not going to hear lying Ted anymore? That's not going to be with you and Cruz, and nothing going to be lying Ted anymore?
Well, I can't say that. I mean, I think I'll save it till maybe after I'm finished with this because, you know, I like to tell the truth.
You did to Rubio.
We'll see what happens.
Say nice things about it.
We'll see what
happens. All right. I don't know if lying Ted is a good line.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, now look, you are in a position where you're being attacked by Move On and these other very well organized radical left groups. You know it, your security knows it, Secret Service knows it. That's going to continue. Do you have a plan on how you're going to handle that?
Well, it is going to continue because the last person they want to face, the Democrats want to face, is me. And the last person Hillary Clinton wants to face is me. And I mean, I know that for a fact, and people like to report it different ways, but they want to have me out. They want to have somebody else to run against Hillary, assuming she gets to the starting gate, which is a big question. I mean, the email is going to allow her to get to the starting
the
gate.
FBI could come in, but she's going to win the vote. But you know that you get in trouble when you react, all right? So the proactive forces are coming at you, and then you react, and you've said some very questionable things like maybe we punch him in the face or something like that. What I'm trying to get at is...
Yeah, I didn't say that, Bill.
All right,
I didn't say that. Like I said,
something along
we had a
those
very
lines.
rough dude. Yeah, we had a very rough dude in a massive 25,000-seat auditorium. Every seat was packed, and this guy was very physical with a lot of people. I was seeing it, and all I did was make the statement. I wouldn't mind doing it, but that you have to understand where it all comes from.
Okay, and I do. But is restraint now required on your part? Because, again, you're going to be provoked. Is restraint required?
I think so, and I think I've been restrained, Bill. You know, we've had very little problem. I've had the biggest, as you know better than anybody, I've had the most people by far, not even close. And, you know, we have 20,000, 25,000 people routinely, and, you know, we have one person stand up. And it's usually somebody that's sent in by, I don't know who sends them in, but we have very little problem. Then in Chicago, we could have had a problem, and I made a decision and got credit for that decision
Yeah, I
to
supported
cancel.
the decision.
Because that was very
That's what you're going to see now.
confrontational.
You're going to see Black Lives
Yeah,
Matter,
okay.
Move On, all of these people trying to brand you as some Nazi, and the press will go along with it, enabling them to do their deal. But they're baiting you, and I'm speaking from experience. I don't know whether you remember Al Franken, but he baited me, I guess it was 10 years ago. I fell for it like an idiot. And he won in the sense he got all this publicity, and he was able to lie at will and do what he did. He's a despicable human being. But he won because I reacted to him. Well, I should have floated above it, and I'm wondering whether you can float above, Move On, and Black Lives Matter. Is it possible?
I think I can. The only thing I would say is this. We have some very big events scheduled with 25, 35,000 people, one at 32,000, all sold out. And, you know, when people go in there and they interrupt and they stand up, and in many cases they start things like, you know, raising their fists and maybe hitting people, we're not going to, you know,
No,
I'm not going
security
to
has got
stand
to
for that.
handle that.
And the people in that room won't stand. I know, but the people in the room, in all fairness to them, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're going to stand for it, Bill, but that's what happens. They provoke to such an extent. But the answer is yes, I would absolutely be able to stand above it.
Okay, because Donald Trump now is not speaking as the art of the deal guy or the apprentice guy. You're not speaking anymore on that level. Now you're speaking for the United States. You may be president. I mean, so your rhetoric means so much more than it used to mean. You know, you're in a different place, a place you've never been in. I'm just wondering how much you've thought about all that.
Well, I've thought about it, and at the same time, we want to be effective. We have to be effective people in what we do and in what we're doing, but I certainly have thought about it. I think it's a very terrible thing going on, though, Bill. People will have a rally, or they'll have, you know, whether it's 2,000 or 500 people, and people are set into those places. Now, I must say it happens with me more because I'm the front runner,
Right.
and they want to make me a little bit more than they would
They want to
somebody else.
provoke
Okay, I'm
you,
not going
though.
to say it.
Look,
They do.
They don't
Well,
want
they
to
do.
provoke
They-
John
they want to do
Kasich.
that.
Nobody's going to provoke John
No.
Kasich. Ted Cruz, yeah, they don't like him, but it's not. But they want to bait you into doing something, and then the press.
Well, they don't think that Kasich or Cruz is going to win, so they don't really care.
No. I
think
disagree
we're
with
going
you.
to win.
It's personal against you. They don't care about Kasich and Cruz winning. They don't like you because you stand for border deportations of immigrants, stopping Muslims temporarily from coming here. All of these things your opposition feels are human rights violations. They don't like you. That's why they're doing it.
Well, But whatever, and I'm the front runner, and I think they probably feel in the other cases they may be wasting their time, in all fairness. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
But, no, I'm not going to be provoked, but at the same time, you have to take tough action when this happens, but you can't let them get away with it. So you do have to take action, and I think you agree with that.
Yes, it's a tightrope you have to walk, but let your security do it
tight.
and be the peacemaker. That's what I would do. Be the
Okay.
peacemaker.
I'll do it.
All right, now Hillary
I'll do
Clinton,
it.
your likely opponent. You gonna go scorched earth on Hillary Clinton? I mean, you're gonna get into all the personal stuff with her and her husband and the scandals. You're gonna do all that?
Well, I think I'd rather not say now. It's a little bit early. I want to get it first. And, we had one little run-in about 2 months ago, and I helped Bernie a lot because, frankly, her numbers came down very big after that, but that was my only real confrontation with her. We're going to see what happens, but whatever it is, I'll do what I have to do.
Okay, I don't know.
My whole concept, Bill, is very simple. Hey, Bill,
Yeah.
my whole concept, make America great again. That's what we're going to do. She cannot make America great again. She is going to fail on trade. She's going to fail in the military. She has been so bad with the military, it's horrible
but
to look at what's happened to our country.
Just remember-
She's been there a long time, Bill.
You got to persuade a lot of people to vote for you, and some of those people are going to say, if you get down in the mud, it's not making America great. That's what some might say. Now, I got to take a break, but we're going to hold Donald
listen.
Trump over. I'm going to ask Mr. Trump who he's considering for vice president beside me. That's a joke. And later, Bernie Goldberg, Jorge Ramos, Dennis Miller, all upcoming. New York City this evening. So, just for the sake of a good interview, which it has been so far, people would like to know, I know they want to know, who you think might be a good vice presidential choice. You don't have to say, I want this guy or gal, but somebody that you respect in a variety of ways that you would like to have in your administration. Any names come to mind?
It's really too soon to talk about it, Bill. I like closing the deal. I'm a closer. My life has been about closing, and I like closing the deal before I discuss it. But, I've got, as you know, I've been very much involved in politics for many, many years. For the last 8 months, I've been doing this, and it's been certainly an interesting experience, and it's working out pretty well. But it's a little bit too soon to say. I think in the end, you'll be I think you will appreciate the selection.
All right, so you have been thinking about
very well.
You have been thinking
I
about
have been. I think about it, but it's just too soon to really let my thoughts get out there. But,
All right, but
there are some very good people.
Isn't there some worthiness to having you tell potential voters who you admire? Let's do some history, contemporary history, world history, American history. Throw out a couple of names of people that have impressed you.
Well, somebody that I would really love, and I've loved his tone, and I've always said that when they ask who is the best president, Ronald Reagan. I've always liked Ronald Reagan. I thought he represented something really terrific. His attitude, his presence, but that's somebody that I like. There are many people you respect. You go back in the line, but I thought Ronald Reagan, in terms of president, was excellent.
Who's been the best president ever in the United States, in your opinion?
Well, ever?
Ever.
Well, a lot of people are thinking, and you have a vast array, but a lot of people are saying Abe Lincoln. I mean, he seems to be rising to the top, and
That's
he
my
wasn't
choice.
there 15 years ago, and a lot of people. Well, maybe you helped him a little bit with your book. Your book was terrific, but a lot of people are really saying Abraham Lincoln, and
All right, so you admired Lincoln.
You can't go wrong with that.
How about John F. Kennedy? Did you admire John F. Kennedy?
I respected him. We never really got to see, it's 1,000 days. We never really got to see what the end result was going to be with John F. Kennedy. But he certainly had a style that was good, and I think he was good for the country. He was a cheerleader. To a certain extent, being the president, you have to make lots of good decisions, but you have to be a little bit of a cheerleader for the country. And
Sure.
I think that's where President Obama really lets us down. I thought he would have been a great cheerleader for the country, and it turned out to be just the opposite, because we have a very, very divided country.
What about Franklin Roosevelt? Good president?
Well, he was an amazing man, and he was, on the slightly liberal side, so maybe somebody like me wouldn't like him as much as somebody else, but he was certainly an amazing man. And when you watch, his biography, I find it to be fascinating, really fascinating, what he went through. So he was something very different on the liberal side, however.
All right, how about Bill Clinton? Just policy, not personal. Good president?
Well, I'm not sure that you can separate it. Honestly, I'm not sure that you can separate the policy and the personal. I will say this, NAFTA is a disaster. And the more you see with NAFTA, that was his baby more than anybody else. And the more you see of NAFTA, what they've done, what it's done to this country, and this is really belated because at the time people, I guess, thought it was a good thing. But NAFTA has just stripped our country of everything. It's taken so many companies and jobs out of our system. So, when you add NAFTA to the legacy of Bill Clinton, it really hurts him. When you add
One more question.
personal stuff to his legacy, that's a disaster.
One more question. I disagree with you vehemently about George Bush the younger lying on purpose to get us into a war with Iraq. As somebody who covered that situation, I talked with Colin Powell, I talked with the CIA director. They all said the same thing. The New York Times are reporting it on the front page, that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and indeed told his own generals that he did, and the generals disseminated that information. So to me, all the evidence says that President Bush the younger did not lie. Maybe he made a mistake, did not lie.
Okay.
You want to backtrack on that statement?
No, I don't want to backtrack. I didn't say lie. I said he may have lied. I don't know. Did he really believe there were weapons of mass destruction?
I think he did.
I know that when his father went in, and his father actually did something pretty good because he pulled back. He didn't get into the trap. But I know that Saddam Hussein was taunting the father. The Americans, they were not, they were cowards. He was saying all sorts of things because of the fact intelligently they pulled back. And I know that, and also that the son loves the father, and I think he felt very hurt by it.
But I think the evidence shows,
like him,
the evidence shows that there was a prevailing wisdom within Iraq that was disseminated to our intelligence authorities that he did have them. So I'd be careful. The lie thing I don't think is legitimate. But look.
Well, let me just say, regardless of for what reason we went in, it was a massive,
it didn't work out, that's for sure.
Horrible mistake.
Okay.
That's for sure.
All right, we appreciate you taking the time. We know everybody wanted you today, and thanks for coming out. We'll talk to you soon, Donald. Thanks again.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Directly ahead, Hillary Clinton caught off mic saying a bad thing about Donald Trump. Then, can the Univision network cover the Trump campaign fairly? Jorge Ramos be here to answer that question in just a few moments. Weekdays at Bernie segment tonight while chatting during a commercial break on MSNBC. Hillary Clinton and Chris Matthews were picked up on an open mic. The subject? Donald Trump.
Yeah, you guys can't stop covering him. I mean, he is a dangerous presence, and it's just like, candy buzz.
I'll show you that video that makes everyone dip into him, dip out of him, and we have a progressive audience, obviously, but nobody can tell what people want to watch.
Yeah, let's think they want to watch him.
We laugh at him.
Joining us now from Miami, the purveyor of BernardGoldberg.com, Mr. Goldberg. So does that piece of tape disturb you, Bernie?
On a scale of 0 to 10 million, I rated a 0. The only time hot mic conversations are scandalous or even interesting is when the person says something off camera and says pretty much the opposite on camera. We know Hillary Clinton doesn't like Donald Trump. We know Chris Matthews is no fan of Donald Trump. I don't get it. That's a no issue for me.
Should they be commiserating, though? I get your point. I mean, all interviewers, when we have downtime with the interview subjects, I mean, you and I banter before the program, and
absolutely,
I compliment your tie selection and all of that. But I always come back, and I don't want the interviewer to get too cozy with the interview subject. And it's, we can laugh about it. And I don't know. I know Matthews isn't a hard news guy, but it makes me a little nervous.
No, look, I think you said something that the audience needs to understand. Whenever you're doing an interview with somebody, whether it's at their house or in a studio, when you're changing tapes or when you're setting up the lights or in between anything, you just chat with the
you
person.
chat with
You're
them.
trying to make them, that's just normal. You make them feel comfortable. Now, what you shouldn't do, if they say, I think Donald Trump is, fill in the blank, you shouldn't say, yeah, so do I. Not if you're a hard news guy. They didn't say anything that even comes close to being scandalous or, in my view, even interesting.
Okay. You heard the Trump interview. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I thought you asked a very important question, and we saw Donald Trump's modus operandi in the answer. You said, I disagree with you. You shouldn't have said, you said, this is the way you said it. I disagree with you. Trump didn't, George Bush didn't lie to get us into a war. He may have made a mistake, which he did, but he didn't lie. Okay, that's a good question. It needed to be asked. And Donald Trump said, well, I didn't say he lied. I said, maybe he lied. I mean, who knows? He could have lied. No, I heard it. He said they lied. They knew there were no weapons of mass destruction, and they still went into war. They lied. They referring to Bush and his team. What bothers me about this is that this is what Donald Trump always does. He is genetically incapable of saying, maybe I went too far. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. He's genetically incapable of saying, I was wrong about that. Anybody who can't admit that occasionally they make a mistake on live TV, in all the interviews that they do, I'm troubled by that kind of person in general, whoever it is.
Well, I mean, Barack Obama might fall into that category.
Okay.
I mean, I'm trying to think back on presidents who have really come out publicly and admitted mistakes, and very few and far between. Not many. Because the whole game is authority, and I know what I'm doing, and they want to show weakness. Last word.
Yeah, but if you said to me, you said Donald Trump brags too much, and you have the tape to prove that I said that, and I say to you, I never said that. That doesn't speak well of me. That's not how. I understand that he's running for office, and I understand that he has to convey a certain strength. I don't like that. I don't like when somebody isn't strong enough to say, in that case, I think I went too far. And instead, he looks you in the eye, or at least through the TV, he looks you in the eye, and he said, oh, I didn't say that he lied. He did say that he lied. We all heard him say that he lied. There's videotape of him saying that he lied, and that's not the kind of thing I admire in any politician.
All right, Bernie, thanks as always. We appreciate it. Plenty more ahead as the Factor moves along this evening. Dennis Miller, some thoughts about the recent violence at some Trump campaign rallies. Jose Jorge Ramos on whether his network Univision can cover the Trump campaign fairly. We hope you stay tuned for those reports. Dr. Follow-up segment tonight, replacing Justice Scalia at the Supreme Court. As you may know, Mr. Scalia passed away last month, so there's an opening at the America's highest court level. Today, President Obama nominated 63-year-old Merrick Garland, federal judge in Washington, D.C., to fill Scalia's position. An analysis of Judge Garland says he would be expected to align with the liberal members of the Supreme Court. Therefore, his nomination is doomed because the Senate, which has to confirm a Supreme Court justice, here in New York City to comment, Kirsten Powers. So would you agree with that? Doomed?
Well, I think it's doomed, but not because of who he is. I think it was doomed anyway, because the Republicans already had said, no matter who you send up here, we're not going to take it up. And he's actually pretty moderate. So the fact that he would align with the liberals, okay, but he's expected to be, I think, more of a moderate type person.
Yeah, but did you see his gun control record?
Okay, so fine. So he's
That's it.
That's not, but he doesn't, President Obama's a Democrat.
No. I'm not saying anything about